Brock, my man, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is exciting, man. We've been venturing out of the SEC, which we haven't really done too much, but to have Wake Forest from the ACC, especially with the projections on your team, I told you when I messaged you, like we've invested money, me and Daniel. We got man, they put y'all at plus 4,000. It's the best bet in sports right now, and so I was like, we got to have a stud from Wake Forest on, have him tell his story, but we got to talk
For
Wake
sure.
Forest baseball. So,
Let's do it.
but before we get into all of that, you're an East Coast guy, obviously originally from Florida, but all these boys in the South have a lot of different answers. So I'll be curious now that we're venturing out on these first couple icebreakers we have before we get into you telling your complete story. And so the first one is, man, who's your favorite musician or band?
Favorite musician or band? It's probably a hot take, but my favorite hip hop artist is Rod Wave. I
Mhm.
just like his lyrics. He got some good lyrics. My favorite country artist is Zach Bryan for sure.
Is the Rod Wave, is that the Hotel Lobby song?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I've ever
If it
heard
if it is Daniel, that's the intro. Lock it up, like making it
that.
happen. But
Let me tell you about Rod Wave now. Rod Wave is just I would say recently over the past year been a few people's favorites, and I've yet to find a song
I'm
that
telling you.
isn't banging, but also isn't like there's not like a clean version of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's hard. It's hard.
so but I'll do my best, man. I definitely will do my best to see what I
we're
can
we're
find
we're
out there
just
for you.
glad because I mean we've been getting a lot of Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs lately, and Daniel when he does his intros with the music, man, it doesn't flow as well with that slow country stuff. So we'll take it. So for you, man, non-sports movie, what's your favorite movie?
Non-sports movie. One of the first two Fast and Furious. Those are probably my favorite movies of all time, actually.
Solid. I actually went and saw the first one in theater when I was 16 with a bunch of friends. Daniel, you weren't there, but it was all the guys from the football team, Floyd, John. We lined up at the first red light we did. None of us had a fast car. It didn't matter. Peeled out. Luckily, we didn't all go to jail. But I feel you. I love that pick.
Oh yeah.
But then I got to go. Favorite baseball movie? What is it?
For a love of the game. I mean, just I love, obviously, adore everything about baseball, and that movie just kind of encompasses it all. And I mean, who better to play than Kevin Costner, right? The goat.
Absolutely. Clear the mechanism. I love it. All right. So, favorite athlete growing up? Who was it?
Favorite athlete growing up. Growing up, it was probably Bryce Harper. I saw him land on my doorstep from Sports Illustrated when I was like 7, 8 years old. I'm like, that guy. I want to be like that guy. So him for sure growing up, and as you get older, you kind of start to like different dudes and stuff like that. But Bryce Harper for sure.
If you still want to, follow and emulate him, by all means, it's going to lead to a lot of money, Brock. What? So with that, who was your favorite team? What was it? The Phillies because he's on there, or was it somebody else?
No, I just love like I watched him and then he started playing for the Nationals and that's kind of been my team ever since. And then I started watching Rendon and then Soto and then all those guys come through Turner, Jason Worth, throwing it back to a long time ago. Those are kind of my guys I grew up watching and that was just like I think one of the greatest teams ever. And they never really put it together, but that's been my team since.
You wanna
Absolutely.
you wanna talk about hair flow? Jason Worth.
Jason Word.
Gee, that's some long locks, man. That
Yeah.
dude had a flow for sure.
But yeah, I definitely that team was I respect it. So last one I got, and then I'll let Daniel get into your story, man. Obviously, the Super Bowl's coming up. You may not even be a football fan, but even if you are or aren't, who you got winning, man? The Chiefs or the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big football guy at all. I mean, I like to see the Eagles win, but I mean, I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm just here for the entertainment. Whatever happens, happens.
Is the baseball team throwing a Super Bowl party? What's up?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, that'd be great. We all go to our baseball house, have a good time, just the boys, be a good time. So we'll see.
Brock said he's here for the food. That's it.
Yeah, for the
Whoever
food. That's about it.
whoever wins is arbitrary. He's just there for the food, man.
Exactly.
All right, Brock, man. Let's jump into your story, dude. Obviously, the best way that we start off is from the beginning. So take us back, man. Where are you from?
So it's kind of a long story. I was actually born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Me and my dad were born there. That's where my parents met. And we moved to just outside Tampa for a couple years. That's where my middle brother was born, Braden. And then we actually moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, for about 10 years. That's kind of what I call home. It's where I grew up from the time I was 4 to 14. You have basically your starting memories to, start of high school. And that's where my youngest brother was born, Braxton. And then once I was 14, it's kind of a whole family decision. There was just a bunch of better opportunities to go back to Florida, not only for myself, but for my younger brothers in sports, and my parents with jobs, opportunities, and stuff like that. But I started playing baseball ever since I can remember. I think I was 4 or 5 years old. I'm at a golf course with my dad, and they said I started swinging it like a baseball bat, and they were like, "Oh, let's put him into baseball, see what happens." And I just, I ate it up, and I've never looked back.
It
Um,
it seems like it's in the family because wasn't your uncle a pro baseball player?
Yes, sir. He was, and my dad played baseball in high school, but he wanted to do other things. And he was actually professional MMA was what he did. So he loved that stuff. That's what he did. I'm not big into it, but my middle brother is. My middle brother, he is actually a state champion wrestler down in Florida. I mean, he's just the man. So it's just a beast. But yeah, kind of baseball just runs in our family. My youngest brother plays, my little cousins played. So, it's just kind of something that is a Wilken trait, almost.
So I got a question for you, Brock, on the dad thing. There always becomes a point in time where the son can finally take the dad, but your dad's a professional fighter. So, like, are you still losing that battle?
Yeah, man, it's gonna eat me up saying this, but yeah, I'll get him sometimes, but he'll get me other times. I mean, my dad's a pretty big dude. My dad's 6'1", 230, and I mean, he's out deadlifting me, and I'm just like, he's only 42, and I'm just like, I just gotta tip my cap sometimes. I'm like, you got it, dude. I'm done with it.
You just got to take a step back and real recognize real, man. I mean, you
Yeah, it's something we always do. Like, I'll get home, and within probably the first 5 hours of being home, one of us is fighting each other, and it's just awesome. We're always just going at it, wrestling, doing whatever we're doing.
that's a
Being the
that's a
boys.
veteran dad move. It's when your kids don't see you for a while, you got to establish dominance really quickly so that they remember who the boss is and they fall in line real quick, man. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm bigger than him in every single aspect, and somehow he still wins. It's so annoying.
I mean, hey, if your only loss is to a professional fighter that's also your dad, I mean, I think that's okay.
The,
Yeah, it's all right, I
the
guess.
question is, do you pass down the whooping to the little brother? That's the question.
So my youngest brother, he's 13. You know, that's my boy, and I absolutely beat the crap out of him all the time. I got to establish dominance, right? Got to establish dominance. Got to let him know who's the older brother. Um, but the middle one gives me a run for my money sometimes. I mean, he's a state champ wrestler, so it's kind of tough. But I'll still win. I'll still beat him up any day of the week. He can say whatever he wants.
I was listening to an interview. Perfect Game was doing it, and they were talking about pro prospects, and they had you on there. They also had Dylan Cruz on there, but they were talking to you about family, and man, just listening to you talk about your brothers, like there's a closeness there that I don't think everybody really understands, but you could hear it and you could see it in your voice and your facial expression. So, what is the plan? Obviously you're gonna just be an example, but also like what's the plan for the other brothers? Are they to follow in your footsteps? Are they elite athletes? Are they gonna, play college? Are they gonna go to Wake Forest? Like what's their story? What's going on with them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you hit it right on the head. My brothers probably mean more to me than anybody or anything in this entire world. It's just I don't know. I've always been preached, brought up as family is number one thing. Family is number one thing, and that's just kind of who I am. I love my family. I love being at home. I love spending every waking moment with my brothers, doing whatever it is. Whether it's playing MLB The Show or whether it's playing pool basketball, wrestling, whatever it may be. I always want to be around. My brothers and my family, and it's kind of cool because we all have the same initials, BW. And one of my best friends, he's a tattoo artist, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we do this thing where we get our initials tattooed? And I got the Roman numerals 1 of 3, and then so the younger two will get 2 of 3 and 3 of 3 with our initials. So it's kind of like our staple. That's kind of just how close we are. That brother tattoo, and it means a lot to us. Obviously, 13-year-old can't get it yet, but he'll get it pretty soon.
Well, Daniel,
look, and here's the thing. I've seen some kids, and I say kids because they were kids, getting tattoos way too young.
Oh,
just call me out, Daniel. I was 14, man.
They all turned out terrible, Brock. So whatever you do, just make sure like your brother is of age and you take him somewhere that's reputable, not just Johnny, whoever, Appleseed in the back of the garage out there.
Yeah.
Like
Daniel, hey, no listener in the 7 seasons we had, we've never talked about my tattoo. We might as well just tell him, man. My cross was crooked as all get out. My last name's Cross Brock. Anyway, 14 years old, got it done in a garage in a shady neighborhood with his actual best friend who got a lion that's cross-eyed. Anyway, we felt so cool when we came back to school, and then people started looking at it like, that thing's crooked. And next thing,
it's not straight.
Yeah, so I went from like cool with a tattoo to establishing a nickname called Crooked Cross. So it went completely backwards, Brock.
Yeah, it was
so
they were bad. I mean, it was so bad that Jim doesn't even have a cross anymore. He's just covered it completely up. You can't even tell. It's just something totally different.
That's wild. So,
but yeah, man, it's crazy. So just make sure, a bit of advice. Make sure you go to somebody reputable. I mean, I don't think the tattoo can be that difficult, the way you're explaining it, but just make sure you get a professional, man.
You
don't want no Mickey Mouse tattoo. You don't want no amateur hour in there.
Never.
Like get it done the right way.
Always.
But Brock, man, you talk about starting baseball at a young age. Was baseball the only sport you played, or did you play multiple sports?
So growing up, I was just always infatuated with baseball. I kind of really never wanted to do anything else. But I did do jujitsu and I wrestled in middle school. That was really just to keep me athletic and keep me moving and stuff. It wasn't really because I loved it like my dad or my brother does. It's kind of just something I did to stay mobile, do something else that's fun that I also enjoy, but I don't necessarily love, to get me ready for the season. That was about it. Once I got to high school, I was just strictly baseball.
There's something about, and I'm gonna call it combat. I don't know what other word to call it, but like combat, man-to-man combat with another person that prepares you for anything. Right? I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure at this point, there's never a time that you step across the lines and you're like, oh, like I'm nervous about how good this person may or may not be, because like that, like when you wrestle or you do jujitsu or do any kind of combat sport, like that mentality is really like the basis of doing it, is to realize like what you can do and like nobody can beat you.
Oh, exactly. I think wrestling and baseball, I think, are the two greatest sports, honestly, in my opinion, because they teach you a lot about routines and discipline. You have to be all about your routines, all about discipline, or you're ultimately not going to be as successful as you want to be. And having that mental toughness in both aspects of the game, I think, is kind of what helped me and propel me to the path that I am on right now.
So let's fast forward, a little bit from that point to high school. Obviously, you talk about moving from New Mexico to Florida to North Carolina, back to Florida, and you're going to Bloomingdale High School, which is, right outside of Tampa, Valrico-ish area. So, um, tell me a little bit about, the high school, big school, little school, just so that people kind of get familiar with what kind of caliber athletes you're going up against and really, what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I moved to Florida, I really didn't know anybody. And so it was a complete change for me. And a couple guys took me under their wing. And, I was actually in one of their weddings. They were seniors when I was freshman, and, they were just awesome. But, it's a school where you go there and you're really good at sports. I think our soccer team has 5 or 6 state championships. Women's soccer, same thing. Football, they had my senior year, they had, I don't know, 7 guys go Division 1. For baseball, we had 10 dudes that were committed on one team, and there's probably about 3,000 kids that go to our high school. So it's a big school. It's a even bigger county, with high level athletes. I think my freshman year, I played guy went to Florida State, the 13th overall pick. A
You,
guy
you
that was
ever you ever
third
heard of a
round.
guy named Pete Alonso?
Alonso is actually
He
one of my
went,
best friends.
yeah, he went to school down in Tampa.
Yeah,
So,
he went to
I mean,
Plant. I know.
Daniel,
I know Pete very well.
what would be wild is what Brock doesn't know is that you were a principal in school in Tampa. What would be wild is if like Brock had went to your school and this just came around full circle.
that would be wild, but I don't think, based on what high school he went to, he wouldn't have been at any of my schools. But it would have been wild for sure.
Would have been.
Obviously you talk about the depth of talent in the Tampa area. I mean, I spent some time coaching at the University of Tampa when I first moved to Tampa, and
Okay.
like the level of talent at the Division 2 level is stacked. So like just and that's all local kids coming in, and
Yeah.
obviously, you know what separates the good from the great, and the bad from the good or the average, and I would consider you one of the great players, is the coaching. And your uncle happened to be your high school coach. Was that something that you would say made it harder for you as a player or made you better as a player? Obviously, it probably a little bit of both, but which one was it? Was it more pressure and it harder, or you enjoyed it because you knew it made you that much better?
I don't think there's a right answer to that, because I think it's both. I think it's the exact same amount of both. Um, so, especially coming in freshman year, I knew I was one of the better players, coming in, especially as a freshman. And I knew that I had a shot to play on varsity. Obviously I had to go win a spot, but my uncle never made it easy. He would just pick out the littlest things. And, a couple of my buddies pick on it now, and they're like, dude, you would get so mad at him for the littlest things. And he's like, well, I had to, I mean, and it kind of worked. And it was just those little things that also made me better. Those little things where it was super hard that made me better. And I mean, my uncle is my guy. I go to him for anything and everything. I mean, you name it. We know stuff about each other that not a lot of people know. And we just have a super special bond that I'm still so grateful that I could have had the opportunity to play for him and just to be alongside of him through, you know, each and every one of my milestones, but also his milestones as a coach and as an uncle as well. And, it was just really cool, a special bond that, not a lot of people get to have.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime you get to celebrate that with your family is great, but when you get to share it with your family, that's even better too.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about some of these accolades, man. Perfect Game rated you as the number 82 recruit in the country.
Mhm.
You're included number 18 in Florida, number 9 as a third baseman nationally. You were ranked by Baseball America as the 354th prospect in the 2020 MLB draft. You were a 4-year starter, a 3-time All Conference honoree, You earned first team all state honors as a junior. You batted 470, 12 homers, 26 RBIs in just 25 games, man. You hit homers in just 8 games as a senior before the whole COVID, comes through and shuts things down. So, first of all, like that's back to back guests that we've had that have had their senior season just completely wiped away um, from COVID.
Yeah.
Just like explain to us because it changed like it is different and it's a different level like a different level of different with every guest that we talk to that this happens to, but how deflating was it to have COVID take away that senior season knowing just how great of a junior year you had.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, man. It was tough. It was one of the things where I kind of just remember every single detail about the day that we got told we were shut down. It was tough. We just played against Plant High School, Pete Alonso's alumni, and we beat them, and they're a really good team, really good program, and to beat them, and then the next day, you know, get shut down with COVID, we're like, dang, we had a really good team. We had a really good shot to make a run at the playoffs and make a run at the state playoffs as well. So to get that shut down, it sucked. And it was one of those things where it kind of made me learn to never take anything for granted because this is how fast it can be taken away from you just like that, and you have no control or no say over any of it. And that's kind of the biggest thing I learned from the whole COVID thing, and especially being senior year, it sucked even more because you're playing with your guys one last time, going out like that. Just it was a bummer for sure.
I'll tell you what, Daniel, as many guys as we talked to, whether it was their senior season in high school or a certain season in college, he's one of the first ones that's talked about, never take anything for granted. And that's one of the special things that makes me just think even higher of you, Brock, because that's the truth of the matter.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, even now, man. I mean, it's you got to take every practice that you get every time you wake up and go to class, like you realize how fortunate you are because shit, just 3 years ago that wasn't happening. Like
Exactly.
people weren't getting up and going to class. They were waking up in their PJs and flipping on the computer and having to do it that way.
Yep.
Um, but I, I haven't asked anybody this, but I'll ask you, um, do you appreciate now being able to wake up and actually go to a class?
100%. Yeah, I'm the type of guy that I like to learn like face to face with people. Like Zoom was so annoying because like you just zone out and there's a million other things that you could be doing rather than being on a classroom Zoom call that you don't even want to be in the first place, right?
Right.
Class is already boring as hell anyways, and you don't want to go to class anyways, and just having the luxury of rolling over, turning off your camera and going back to sleep. Like there's just so many opportunities to do something else. So I really did enjoy going back to class, meeting new people, especially being a freshman. Transitioning to college is hard enough, and having to do that with COVID and masks all the time and all these restrictions. I mean, it was tough. It was tough for sure.
So, your junior year, prior to all this, your junior year, you know, you were phenomenal. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You read those stats and you're like, man, that's like the epitome of what excellence is. Um, but talk to us a little bit about that team. How good was that team, and what would you say was your favorite moment of your high school, the junior season?
Yeah, I mean that team was special. I think guys 1 through 8 were committed, and that kind of just says something about the team that we had that junior year, and it was way different because I actually caught that year. I came down to Florida as a primary catcher. And my uncle was like, if you want to play for me and play here on varsity, you're gonna have to learn a different position. So that's when I started playing third. Started figuring out. I was like, oh, okay, I'm pretty good at this. Let's keep this going, see where this goes. And junior year, we didn't have a catcher. The 2 years prior, we had two mid-major Division I guys for catchers, and so I stuck at third, and they were like, we want to be good, you're gonna have to go behind the dish. And I was like, all right, let's go. So I went back to work that whole fall, just grinded, catching. I probably didn't hit. It's weird that I say that, but I probably didn't hit as much as you think I would have. With some of those numbers, I just worried about catching. Um, and it was way easier on myself because I have a bad game at the plate. I still got to worry about, all right, let's get my pitchers into this game. And, it's finding another way to help my team win that, wasn't necessarily with the bat, which I think was a great opportunity for myself, a great opportunity to learn to lead other people and a pitching staff. And it was great because I got to call my own game and, had the luxury of doing that. And, the pitching staff trusted me and, it was great doing that. And, those guys really came together and we came together that year after coming off a district championship sophomore year. And, we're like, all right, we got a shot to go pretty far. And we kind of took it and ran with it. And that was probably the best high school team I've ever played on.
I mean, I'm always amazed by anybody, Jim, that can just transition into being a catcher.
Well, you heard me laugh because we heard that statement verbatim from Evan Russell for Tennessee when he became catcher. That he literally said exactly what he said. He said, "I didn't spend any time hitting BP." He said, "I was just worrying about catching."
Yep, exactly. Catching's the toughest position to do. And, especially having guys low to mid nines, you're like, I gotta be ready. And they got electric stuff on the mound. You gotta stick it and be good back there. You gotta help those guys, win us a ball game. And that's what I just focus on doing.
Right.
Daniel,
Let's be honest, man. Evan Russell's not worrying about low to mid 90s. That dude's worried about
upward of the mids.
Three digits.
Yeah.
104. But Daniel, let me ask you a question because since he brings that up and we bring up Evan, I was at the Ole Miss Inter Squad last weekend, and what does it say about these guys? Like I watched Garrett Wood play left field, third base, shortstop, and second base all in the same game. I was waiting for him to catch at that point. Like when you're a coach, man, how valuable is it just to have a guy that that you can put in multiple areas?
I mean, first and foremost, when I see a guy that is doing that, that tells me immediately that's a guy that the coach wants in the game. And they're trying to find a place that person can play, or they're going to need that person in the game and they're going to have to play multiple positions and they trust that person to be able to do that. So it's a high like pedestal that you're put on. There's pressure that comes with that, but obviously like the belief that your coaches have to put you in that position, that's got to be a good feeling, man. It really does.
It does, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, looking at your trajectory after that junior season, Brock, you were captain of, Ostinger's baseball academy, after high school. Obviously you're starting to prep for the next level. At what point is it travel ball? Is it a high school ball? Is it a combination? Is it your junior year? Like when do colleges start popping up on your radar?
Yeah, I mean it was kind of a combination of all of them. So like beginning of sophomore fall, we played in the underclass PG tournament down in Fort Myers, studs all around. And I played pretty well in that tournament. And that's kind of where I started getting some looks. And it kind of just followed throughout the sophomore year. And then going into the junior summer is kind of where I had a lot more buzz going on, I'd say. I played up on the 17U team when I was 16 and going to the WWBA in Georgia, Jupiter, doing all those things where I got a lot more buzz. And Wake was one of those teams that, one of those schools I just knew they had good coaching staff. They had really good player development. It was a place where I could come in and, make an impact. Doesn't necessarily mean play right away, but it means, have an impact on people, have an impact on the coaches to be that guy sophomore and junior year. And so
what other schools are on your list at this point?
LSU was they were talking to me for a little bit. They're like, max we can give you is like 35, 45%. And I was like, out of state, that's going to be a lot of money. That was my dream school too. And I really loved that place. And I was like, man, I want to go there so badly. But I was like,
Bro, I'm so hot right now. Like after watching all the film of you and obviously seeing the accolades in the preseason, I understand we got Tommy White there now, and he's a guest of this show too. But that just makes me mad that you're not an LSU Tiger.
Hey,
Oh,
man, it was my dream school. I've always loved LSU, TCU, Texas A&M. Those are kind of my dream three. And they always came to my games during summer ball. And I always see them talking to Coach Jimmy Osting, head coach for Ostingers baseball, and I'm like, I want to play for those guys so badly, so badly. That was kind of always a dream. But then my last three were Virginia Tech, Wake, and Miami. Those are kind of my final three. ECU was also in the mix, and then every other school in Florida except for Florida State.
none of those are
I,
bad options.
I mean, yeah, it's like you could throw them all in a hat, pull one out, and you'd be good. I mean,
Exactly.
all of those are top level. Um,
Hey,
when
Daniel,
you say it, it's like Omaha bound. Like that's the expectation. Any of those clubs that you mentioned.
I did have a question though in regards to your travel ball. Were you catching for travel, or were you still playing in the field?
I was doing both. So it was one of those things where I'd catch a game, I'd play third a game, I'd catch a game, play third a game until we got to playoffs, and then our pitching staff was like, "Nah, we want Brock behind the dish." So I'm
Yeah, I was
catching
just
both.
curious if the coaches were still getting to see you play out, and that shows now. Okay.
Yes, sir. I did both, and they knew I did both. And it was funny actually when I got to campus, our catcher got hurt in the fall, and so me and the other catcher were split time, and I caught all my freshmen like preseason, fall, and leading up to the first game. They were like, "You're catching, you're catching, you're catching," and so I caught Cusick, I caught Will Fleming, I caught all these guys leading up to the preseason. And then they were like, all right, we're going to go with our other guy. We want you at third. And I was like, okay, that's, completely good with me. And then I still catch all the time at home. All my buddies call me up, be like, hey, can I throw a bullpen? Of course, I still got my gear. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude, let's go. I love it. So, but yeah, I did play both, and they always saw me play both.
So going back a little bit, obviously you're playing both positions. You're on the radar, obviously as a multi-tool guy, but with all of those options at your disposal to go to school and take your game to the next level, why Wake Forest? What was it about Wake where you're like, that's the place I gotta be?
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit of a long story. I took three officials: Wake, Miami, Virginia Tech. I come here on my first official, and I'm like, man, I love this place, but can I call it home? I go to Miami, and I'm like, I'm not really for this place. I go to Virginia Tech. I'm like, man, I was ready to commit before, I even took my visit to Virginia Tech. And my parents and my uncle are like, dude, just go. You never know what's going to happen. I go to Virginia Tech, had the best visit of my life. And I'm like, man, this is an awesome place. But is it a place where I can go win? And I think that was the most important thing at the time was can I go win? Can I develop? And can I make an impact? And those were the three biggest keys for me. And the only separating factor at the time in the fall of 2018 was Wake had a better track record of winning. And that was kind of the biggest separator. Obviously, now Virginia Tech's a powerhouse and a really good program. And I love Coach Chef and Coach Elvin. Those, if I wasn't going to play for Coach Wall and Coach Billy, those would be the two guys I would, die for. Those are really good guys. They know what they're talking about. But yeah, I think those were the three biggest pieces that I wanted in a program, and Wake checked every single box that I had.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you look at those schools, like we said, it's not a bad option. So you got to find what has, like you said, checks all the boxes, what fits the best. And so, obviously, you talked about when you got to Wake Forest, it was a different time, right? With COVID and everything, but nonetheless, you're actually, you lived in North Carolina, but you lived in Florida, so it shouldn't be any kind of a culture shock. You lived in both, but coming from Florida back to North Carolina, Did it feel any different, or was it, kind of still felt like home?
Yeah, it was different, and it was weird because committing to Wake had literally nothing to do with, kind of going back home, quote unquote. I just this was the place I wanted to be. This is the place that checked all the boxes, and this is the place that could get me to the player that I want to be. And if that's what a program can offer me, no matter where it is in the country, I was gonna go. And this place just hit that mark, and I committed.
Just gauging off interviewing, you don't seem like the kind of guy who would have been nervous, more excited. Would you say that was the case, or were you real nervous when you got there?
For sure. I was so excited. I was so excited, beyond excited to be on campus and start the journey of, being a college baseball player. Not a lot of people get to do that. And I'm very, prideful about the teams that I play for and have played for. And, getting to put on this jersey means a lot to me.
Yeah, and speaking of jersey, man, the new ones that y'all are unveiled are just super fresh while we're at it. But
Super.
you talked about wanting to make an impact in any way, shape, or form, and you ended up making a big time impact. Obviously, freshman year, you played and started in all 47 games at third base. Had a batting average 279, 17 home runs, 44 RBIs, 41 runs scored, 11 doubles, and a slugging percentage of 617. Sitting on top of the Wake Forest record book for most home runs by a freshman. First, I want to start before we even dive into all that. The first thing that pops out to me. Did you hit a 3-run home run in your first collegiate game against Northwestern, game winning? What was that like?
Man, so a little backstory to this, because I gotta give my dad credit, because it is one of the coolest stories I have to date. After BP, I go in, I text my parents. I'm like, my parents and my uncle, I haven't want a text thread. I'm like, I said the best BP of my entire life. Like, oh my God, I'm so ready. Like the juices are flowing. I'm just so ready. My dad is the only one that responds to the text, and he responds with, "Your first college homer is going to be a cool story." And I obviously don't see it till after the game, but in that moment, runners on first and second, and they bring in their dude, they bring in their closer, and they're up 6-5, and I'm like, man, are you kidding me? And I'm like, as a freshman, I'm like, of course I'm nervous. The game's on the line, bottom of the eighth. I feel like it's in my hands. I'm like, oh my God. And first pitch, 95, like probably over my head. And I swing at it, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And next pitch, he leaves a fastball just up in the zone. I get my barrel to it just enough, and it sneaks over the wall. And when I tell you I probably blacked out, like I blacked out. I remember touching first and touching third base and looking at my dugout, and I was probably said 47, let's go, as I'm running around the bases, just so hyped. And it's just engraved in my mind as being one of the coolest baseball moments I ever have in my entire baseball career.
Absolutely. And Daniel, I keep bringing up old guests, but it's a repetition. Drew Gilbert said the same thing. Like when he hits those home runs in those big moments, he says he blacks out. He doesn't even remember it. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy how y'all do that, bro. I wasn't a big time baseball player. I didn't hit game winning home runs, so I don't know what it feels like. But you guys say like y'all just black out.
Yeah, it just, I mean, once it happens and you're just in the moment, you just like, you have 400 million emotions just going through your body. Yeah, you have excitement, joy, and it's just like once you finally get in the dugout and you realize what happened, you're like, oh my God, like that just actually happened, and it was so cool.
Yeah, no doubt. And so like I'm thinking like you set the bar so high right out the gate, right? Like it can't get any better. Oh, but it does. Like, I read off all them stats, but like when I look at individual games, dude, you hit 2 home runs, one of which was a grand slam with 6 RBIs against Florida State in an 8-7 victory. Like, I mean, it just kept going. It's a blackout moment again.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit better because it was at Florida State, and my parents got to go to those games, and because it was hard with COVID and my brothers with sports and stuff, so that was kind of the first games they got to see in person. Was at those Florida State games, and hitting 2 homers there. I mean, that place is just electric for college baseball, and doing that in front of my family and friends was just even better.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Like,
Wilken sends a high fly ball left center field. 2-1 inning. Yes, sir. Brock Wilken.
dude, that's one of my favorite things, Brock.
A
He doesn't.
3-run homer, and it's a 10-run fifth. Still nobody out for Wake.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Brock, that's my favorite part. We've been doing this for 7 seasons. He still never tells me when he's going to do that. So he caught me off guard. And I love it because I know you also don't know it's coming. So
I have no idea.
he's always got these clips ready. So, like, obviously, we get to hear it.
What I want to know is how y'all gonna do them dirty and put up 10 runs in an inning without an out?
Yeah, that was against Georgia Tech, and that was this past season. Man, I don't like that was an unreal game. That was just, I mean, started off wild. I hit a homer to center field. I start off the inning, and I'm like, all right, boys, this is number 6 team in the nation. We beat them, 5-3 or whatever it was the night before. Like, let's go. We're up 2-1. Come on, let's go. Whatever the score was, we just go up by 1. And I mean, we just keep going, and we're just like, oh my god, this hasn't stopped yet. That was a fun game for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, just listing off the rest of that freshman season, just other big games. You had 3 hits against Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Appalachian State. Like, I mean, just so much success. But, I feel like it's going to either be the Florida State or the Northeastern. If you had to pick, man, which one was your favorite?
Probably Northeastern, just because it was a little bit bigger of a moment, and being my first college games, first college weekend, first college series, it was super special, and it's not something that a lot of people get to say is they hit a homer in their first collegiate game.
Yeah, no doubt. And so, you seem very confident but not arrogant, and I bring that up because most guys have expectations set for themselves. So do you feel like you met, or do you even feel like you maybe even exceeded your expectations for your freshman season?
For sure. You hit the nail on the head. I think there's a huge difference in supreme confidence and arrogance. Those are two different things. I know I'm the best player when I step on the field, but I'm not the type of guy to really show that. I kind of want to keep everything just locked in, focus on the game, and focus on winning, because that's really all that matters. You can have all these stats and all this and all that stuff, but if you don't win, those kind of don't mean nothing. But going into freshman year, I kind of just wanted to, get as many at bats as I can, play as much as possible, and do whatever I could to help the team win. And those are kind of just the expectations I had for myself. Obviously, I wanted to do good, but I don't like putting numbers to stuff and having those expectations and feeling like I failed. So I kind of just like to go play. And that was one of the greatest seasons I've ever had, and to do it in my first college season was unbelievable. And I'm just grateful that Coach Walt gave me the opportunity to do so every single game as a freshman.
Yeah, and I mean, some guys have numbers. I feel like for you, just talking to you, because you talked about wanting to make an impact, I think just being able to play and start in every game within itself is probably a first achievement for you, just within itself, and then to have success on top of that. But I do have a funny note, because Daniel texted me while I was talking to you a picture, and talking about confidence versus arrogance. There's a guy in the NFL, might have heard of him, Joey B. They talk about, is he confident or arrogant? You do look like him. Do you get told that, Brock?
All the time, actually. I literally get told, I was playing Cape, and the interns were like, can we interview after the game about Joe Burrow? And I was like, sure. Like, I'm trying to go play, but sure, whatever. But yeah, I get told all the time. It's actually so funny. And I'm just like, hey.
You think I would notice it? I've actually interviewed Joey B, and so, like, it didn't even dawn upon me. And then as soon as he sends me the picture, I look down and I look up at you, and I'm like, oh my God.
That's the real reason he didn't go to LSU. You know that, right? It couldn't handle two lookalikes.
Or
Man.
maybe he's both. Maybe
Hey.
he's getting them both done. You just don't know it.
Hey, whatever it is, man. Obviously, though, it's that confidence and the level of play that you're at gets you the ability to play, over the summer in one of the most prestigious summer leagues out in the Cape. Jim and I are big fans of the movie Summer Catch. I mean, it's a popular movie back in the day. Kind kind of, yeah, classic. So, obviously I got to ask, man, was the Cape League, was it everything that you hoped it would be? Or, because we've talked to some guys and they're like, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Or they were like, oh, it like exceeded what I thought it was going to be. So what was your take on the Cape League?
Yeah. I really had no idea, like what to expect going into the Cape League. Obviously being the baseball guy I am, I know all about it, and I know all the players that played there, and it's the most prestigious place to go play. Just to be even asked or invited to go play as a freshman was something beyond me. I know not a lot of freshmen get that opportunity. So to get the opportunity, I was beyond stoked to even go play. And what kind of makes that whole summer just a little bit extra bittersweet was my Harwich coach was the only one to give me a contract that summer. All my coach called all the other teams. They're like, we don't know. We've never seen him play. We have no idea about this kid. We don't want to take him. And my summer coach, took a gamble on me and never seen me play, and kind of ended up working out for the best. But those Cape, I call heaven on earth, man. I mean, it's a place like no other. I got literally everything I could ever imagined at that place. I got hooked up with the best host family, three host brothers. I mean, just everything and everything. They fed me every single meal, every single day. They were just the greatest people of all time. And then, I mean, playing in the Cape Cod, what more could you want than that in itself? Was just the greatest experience ever.
Yeah, so you mentioned host family. Is that the case for all players, or is there, people are staying with one another, or does everyone get a host family to stay with?
Yeah, everyone gets a host family to stay with, and it's honestly really cool because you get to meet a lot of guys that you would have never met otherwise. To play with one another and to room with them is pretty cool.
So, like, is it awkward, like the first day that you meet this host family and you're just like, "Hey, I'm Brock. What's up?"
Yeah, so first day they actually throw a summer party every year, and all their kids, one's a freshman in high school now, the other one's in 8th grade, and the other one's in 6th grade. So they're all kind of relatively similar and close in age. But at that time they were in 6th grade, 5th grade, and 4th grade. So they were kind of all right there, and I love kids, and they throw a summer party, and so a bunch of people are already there, so it kind of made it easier to transition. But just being who I am and being like the kid person I am, they have a huge pool in the backyard with a basketball hoop, and I'm like, all right, so who's playing basketball? Like, let's go. And I kind of just gelled right in with the family, and I just loved every single minute at that house. It was like my own family, and it was the best experience and best family I could have ever imagined.
I mean, it seems like you fit in well in the Cape. I mean, you were the Cape Cod League most valuable player. Your debut season for Harwich, the Mariners, you batted 302, 39 hits, 10 doubles, 6 bombs, 26 RBIs, 26 runs scored. Obviously just a continuation from a great freshman season, and staying hot, which, I, I'm baffled like that they told you they were taking a gamble on you by signing you to a contract without seeing you. But the reality is all they had to do was get on Google and type your name in, and they could have saw everything they wanted. Because I mean, it just looks like you just continued the hot streak right into the Cape League, man. What was it? Was it coaching? Was it just you were seeing the ball well? Like, what was it that that you would say contributed to you having so much success there? Because we've talked to guys, man, and they're like, it was a grind of a college season. When I got there, I was just kind of like I was just tired. Or other guys were just like, it was just a different level of talent where, not that it was any better or any, it was just different. So what would you contribute your success to there?
Yeah, all those guys are right. It is a grind, and it is everything that they say it is. But I think you have to take that with a grain of salt because, if you're getting the opportunity to play in the most prestigious college baseball league in America and you're given that opportunity, I mean, you got to go make the most of it, right? A lot of guys, say that and they're like, oh man, it was a grind all summer, it was a grind all season. Well, maybe, pro ball isn't the best thing for you because that's exactly what pro ball is like. And, if you can't do that, then how are you going to handle pro ball? And so I don't know. I'm just different in how I view things and look at things, but that's kind of how I viewed it. And I took that opportunity and I kind of just ran with it. And I think the thing that honestly propelled my success was coming home every day to my second family. They literally took me in as their own, and it was so great to come home after a long day at the field, getting there at noon to not leaving there till 10, 11 at night, and having a meal prepared for me, and it's a well cooked meal of chicken and pasta and rice, and not having to worry about, am I going to be able to go to the gas station on time before it closes to get some snacks before I go to bed. It's kind of one of those things that you don't really think about, and that's behind the scenes a lot of the time, that kind of gets unnoticed, but is a lot of reason for a lot of guys' success or sometimes failures. Not everyone gets hooked up with the best host families, and sometimes they don't feed you, or sometimes you have to go buy your own groceries, some of the stuff like that. But that's kind of, I think, what propelled my success in summer ball.
We talk about, being grateful for the opportunities like you were talking about earlier and not taking them for granted. I was thinking about it because we had Paul Skeens a few episodes ago, and it was crazy how we started talking to him, and we've had Cameron James and Jack Brannigan as guests, and they all played together. And then you realize just how many of these guys, like you said, and when you talk about the caliber of talent that's getting to play with or against each other, like how could you not want to go be a part of that and become a better player?
Exactly. Like you're going against literally the best of the best at your division, right? You get players from all over the country, D3, NAIA, D2, Division 1. You're getting the best players from around the country in college baseball, and like how do you not want to just go see what's out there, right? Let alone play against those guys and also get better, and knowing, okay, this is where I'm at and this is where I need to be, or this is where I am now, and maybe I need to do this better, or something along those lines. But there's a caliber of talent up there is unbelievable.
So speaking of the caliber of talent, let's talk about it. What were some of the big names that you played with or against, or like who was someone where you had to take a step back and you're like, man, that guy is just flat good.
Yeah. I played against Brooks Lee. I played against Tommy Troy. I played against Caden Grice. I played against Parada freshman year. Um, who else? I played against, hit off of Pat Riley at Vandy. I mean, there's just so many dudes, out there that I could name. The list just goes on and on forever. Um, but I mean, Brooks Lee just stood out as one of those guys. You're like, damn, that dude's different. You
And
know,
Yeah, we had Brooks on the podcast, and a lot of people were blown away by his story because, being on the West Coast, they don't really get a whole lot of exposure to him. But I think
100%.
now, like the SEC fan base, or at least the majority of our listeners, they have a really good idea now who Brooks Lee is, because like I would say even us for that matter, and we follow baseball pretty closely, and he blew us away.
And I thought he was an interesting story. I think about how Brock played for his uncle. We talked with Brooks a lot about it. He could have went pro, very high right out of high school, but he wanted to improve his game, and he wanted to go play for his dad. And obviously, it didn't hinder him at all. Obviously, based upon where he got drafted.
Yeah, exactly. Brooks is my boy, and I got to know him pretty well. We actually had the same agency as well, so we got to connect a lot during the Cade. And just playing against him, I'll never forget. I mean, he went 5 for 5 right after he came back from his Team USA stint for my freshman year, and 5 for 5 and hit for the cycle. And I'm like, this dude is different, bro. Like you just went 5 for 5 and hit for the cycle. And his last at bat went dead central at our place, which is 405 to dead center. He went dead central to complete the cycle. And I'm like, I'm like, dang, this dude's pretty good.
Yeah, my
Just,
favorite part because he's humble too, Dan. You remember we were talking about how many doubles he had, and he said, "Well, they would be home runs, but I play in like the biggest park you can
Yeah.
find."
So, what would you say is your favorite or best moment in that whole Cape experience?
yeah. I think it's gonna kind of sound cliche, but just kind of getting that trophy was unlike anything I've ever experienced. To be named MVP of that league, and you just go down the list of previous MVP winners, and you got Jason Varitek, you got all these guys, and to look back on it and say, okay, if I end my baseball career today, I'm etched in baseball history forever. I would have been like, if someone said tomorrow you don't play baseball ever again, we talk about leaving an impact. That's the kind of impact I want to leave on people. And when I got kids coming up to me after games and saying we only want your autograph, and my teammates are sitting there, just walking by, and I got 40 kids, and it's just like that's the kind of impact I want to leave on people. And those are, I think, the two biggest reasons was seeing the impact I had on, 300 kids at a Cape baseball game. And then, being able to receive that trophy and being etched in baseball history forever. I think it was the two greatest accomplishments for myself.
Daniel, I think about what he said, and I think about how many times we watched the movie Summer Catch, literally 1,000, Brock, and he had the chance at the perfect game, or no, he had a no hitter, and then he left for the girl. And so I asked you, Brock, you had the MVP, but if there was a Jessica Biel as an option as opposed to the MVP trophy, where are we going?
MVP, dog. No
Yeah,
shot.
Oh, don't
MVP.
don't lie to me.
No shot. No shot.
So safe to say the way that movie went, you wouldn't have left out on your no hitter. You're finishing the thing out.
I'm finishing it. I'm like, give me the ball. I don't care if my arm rips off. Give me the ball.
I heard that. So getting back to Wake after doing Cape Cod League, you appeared and started in 60 games at third base, posted a batting average 272, career high in hits 69, home runs 23, RBI 77, 13 doubles, ranked second on Wake Forest single season home run list. Once again, I want to start with a specific performance, man. Louisville, you hit 3 bombs, 8 RBIs. Like I thought the things you were doing freshman year were big, but now we're hitting 3 home runs and getting 8 RBIs. What's that like?
Yeah, that game was special. I've never hit 3 homers in a game my entire life, and it kind of made it a little bittersweet too because I'm not sure if you guys know him. Gavin Sheets plays for the White Sox, right fielder, first baseman. Went to Wake, and he comes back all the time. And there was a game in the fall, and I had 2 homers, and I flew out to the warning track in my third at bat, and he goes, "Anyone can hit two." And so, after that game, I texted him. I was like, anyone can hit too, buddy. And so, it kind of just made it that bittersweet. But, Louisville was ranked number 7 in the country at that time. And I knew the next day it was a deciding game, and I knew we had to come out and win. So, that next day, it was a great performance. It was great. Everything was awesome. But, that next day we had to come out and win a series against number 7 team in the country to kind of put us on track for hosting, or at the time hosting, and seeing where we could be as a team.
Yeah, and so you talk about where you're at as a team, and you talk about the possibility of hosting. Obviously, didn't even make the postseason the year before, but this season now you're talking about a whole different conversation. And with that, you guys beat Miami. You win the ACC tourney after coming off that rough season. What's that like, man? Especially because there's nothing better than being part of a building program. Obviously, Wake has history and program, so I don't mean it by that way, but obviously the way freshman season went compared to your sophomore season, what was it like going from not making the postseason to winning the ACC tourney and having a whole different outlook?
Yeah, actually, North Carolina won ACC tournament, but we beat Miami in the ACC tournament. Um, but it was just a huge turnaround for us. It was from not even making the ACC tournament to beating the number 6 team in the country, Miami, pretty handedly at the time was unreal. And it kind of just shows how far and how much we put into it as a team together collectively. And to get those outputs and to get those results really really showed us a lot.
Boy, I tell you what, Brock, I am steaming right now, dude. I'm looking to double check right here, and it says defeats Miami to cap off ACC tournament. I'm so confused. My studying, I did it right. It says y'all won it. I'm looking at y'all's SI department on Wake Forest. They lied to me. Oh, but anyway, you won in my book. That's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure.
But nonetheless, you guys, you make it to regionals, you go to College Park, Maryland. What's that like, man? What's that atmosphere? Obviously, you didn't get to host the regionals, but nonetheless, you're there. Did they have a solid atmosphere out there?
Yeah, Maryland had a really good atmosphere. Especially playing against Maryland that second game. They were really good team, really well put together, and it was kind of it was different. That place is kind of a bang box. It's only 350 to dead center, and I think it's like 340 down the line to left. It was a different place to play at. And playing Maryland, and that was a really good team hosting their regional. They got a lot of fans. We had a lot of fans travel as well. So I think it was a really good combination of both teams coming together.
Yeah, no doubt. And so obviously, the season ends, you come up short, but you know, obviously y'all had a lot of guys come back. So your coach is obviously knowing that in real time. And so what's the message that he has for you? Obviously, got to say something in defeat, but obviously there's got to be optimism because the next season there's another opportunity.
For sure. With all of us returning, we knew, us players, we know we have a shot. It's not just the coaches, that talk about, oh man, we could be so good. We also have those conversations, but I think our conversations are a little bit more realistic of because we know one another, right? We know one another. We know how we play. We know how good we could be or how bad we can be. Especially from everyone that returned was on the 2020 team that didn't do good, and then the 2022 team that exceeded expectations. So from that 21 season to the 22 season, all those guys coming back for this year, it just has a lot of optimism going forward. And it's one of those things where, we know we're good. We don't care that, everyone ranks us whatever we're ranked, and we know we're that good, and we know how good we can be. And for us going into the season, it's just going to be about being a team, and kind of our team slogan is make them feel you. MTFY, make everyone feel you in every single aspect of the game. Running hard 90s, hustling on and off the field every single time, making pitches, making swing decisions, hitting that homer and running around the bases like you've done it before, but you're also the man. It's kind of one of those things where you do that, you put that much pressure on a team, they're going to fold at some point, right? They're going to fold, and another team is going to fold at some point. So that's kind of where we're at right now going into the season. And I cannot say I've ever been more ready or, more anxious to get on a field together.
Yeah, I was literally talking to Daniel right before you hopped on about that slogan and how much I loved it. When y'all released all that apparel, like obviously LSU's my team. Like I wanted a Wake Forest shirt that said "Made them feel you." Like I was like, dude, I love that. And so you talk about the rankings don't matter. We did our own preseason rankings before anybody came out with theirs. We all had you in the top 5. You're still in the top 5 in a lot of them, top 10, most of them. But like you said, you don't pay attention to that. But I think that you're getting ranked that way properly because the growth that y'all have been on from the one season to the next, and like you said, the returning guys, and I think they realize all the talent that y'all do have, and so I think just as much as you're ready to be out there, I think a lot of people are interested, just as much to see if it all comes together, which, I've talked to you and I feel like it really is. So going into, your fall practices, your scrimmages, obviously starting here in the winter ones, you get to go against the best of the best. It's one of the best parts about your team because you have so much pitching, and you as a hitter, man, you get to go against face them. So obviously, everybody knows about Rhett Lauder, but man, talk to me about some of the other guys on the pitching staff that people really need to be paying attention to, and some guys, man, it's hard for you to hit against.
Yeah. I really think, everyone loves Rhett and everyone talks about Rhett, and he deserves it. I mean, that dude is nasty. That dude is goated. He's just so good. And thank God he's on my team. But, the next scariest guy, and I think who's probably even more scary, is just because he throws 100 is Teddy McGraw. You throw Teddy McGraw out there, and he pitched last weekend, and it was 33-degree weather, and first pitch of the game, 99.4. I mean, that dude is throwing gas in 33-degree weather. There's just no shot he doesn't hit triple digits this year. And just that he's got a slider, a 12-6, and a changeup that he can command in any part of the zone anytime he wants to. And I mean, those two guys going back to back, it's just going to be so hard for a team to hit off, in my opinion, 2 top 10 picks. I think those guys could go back to back at 4 and 5, or whatever in the top 10 picks. And I mean, just thank God those two guys are on my team. And then, you look at the bullpen with Camden Manassi, who's literally my brother, that's my best friend. He's been up to 97, 98. He's consistently sitting 96, 97. He's got a wipeout slider now, really good changeup. You got Sean Sullivan, who's a transfer from Northwestern, low slot lefty, ton of ride on his heater. You got Cole Rowland, just 12-6 monster with his breaking ball. And then you got Michael Massey, transfer from Tulane. I mean, just the pieces are really coming together of where we didn't have them in the past to go forward into the future with a lot of optimism. And all these preseason rankings, it's just based on the talent we have. We haven't really played a single game. So once we get halfway through the season, those will mean a lot more than they do right now.
Yeah, so getting to go against these guys, we were talking about that confidence factor. When you get to go against these guys, like, it feels like when you go into the season, because you just talked about it, two guys that can be top 5 picks. There's nobody that you're going to be afraid of when you step into that box, because you've already practiced against the best, right?
100%. And, I don't think I'm ever scared or give anyone credit for, being better than me on the mound. But, if there was 2 guys that I would, 3 guys, it would be, Rhett, Teddy, and Cam. Those 3 guys are just lights out 24/7. And to have those guys on our team, on our staff at one time, you talk about college programs. I mean, this is a Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter of Wake Forest. And to have those 2 guys go back to back, I mean, it's really special, and it makes me and the rest of our team better, because we know we're not going to see anything like these guys all season, right? We're not going to see anything like this until we get to playoffs and beyond, and hopefully into Omaha, where we want to be. So getting to see those guys now, and where they're not even supposed to be at peak performance, let's say, it's unbelievable to watch, and I'm just glad they're on my team, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, when we do our rankings, we do in-depth studying, and that's why I said it's Tennessee and Wake at the top, like on a tier of their own when you talk about the pitching staffs. And so, man, that obviously that's a long time from now, I got a season, but man, I would love if y'all squared off, because I want to see those pitching duels. But from a hitter's perspective, talk to me about some of the other guys in the batting lineup. Who should people be scared of? And then not just that, but give me a guy who's under the radar that maybe people don't know about and need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, first we'll start off with probably the biggest name in our lineup, in Nick Kurtz. I mean, that dude is a stud. Our first baseman. I mean, we call him Spider-Man just because he catches everything, and he's just one of my great friends. It's a kid that I really love talking to baseball about and to do everything with. And he just mashes baseballs. He's freshman All-American, had like 360 with 15 homers last year. And, not a lot of kids do that. And to come in as a freshman and be able to do that right away is supreme. So I'm gonna be the one protecting him, and he's the biggest name in our lineup for sure, and I don't think it's close. And I think guys that should people should look out for is guys under the radar, like Bennett Lee, transfer from Tulane, our catcher. He's just been absolutely mashing this preseason. Adam Cesiri, our left fielder. I mean, he just hits balls I've never seen go so far in my entire life. So those are just 2 guys to name off the top of the list, and then you got Tommy Hawk in center field, who's kind of the spark of our offense. He just finds ways to get on base, and you got Pierce Bennett, who just does nothing but hits. He's been injured all fall and all spring, and he comes back and he faces Rhett Lauder, and the first pitch he sees, he hits a 100-mile-an-hour single. And it's like, all this dude does is hit. He hasn't seen a live pitch in 6 months, and he faces a top 5 pick and just hits. So we have a lot of pieces flowing in the right direction to get us where we need to be.
Well, that's awesome. And man, Brock, we really look forward to it. As a matter of fact, I started messaging my boy before we did this episode, and I said, how far do you live from Wake Forest? And he said he's 28 minutes. He lives in Greensboro.
Oh yeah.
Just showed me the map, and he said, because I told him, I was like, man, I said, I'm going to get to see just about every guest that we got coming on at some point or another this season live. And I said, but I won't be able to see Wake. I said, unless, and then he's like, the house is available. You and family come stay. We'll let the girls hang out. Me and you'll go watch the game. And I was like, all right, that's it, man. I'm going to go check out Wake. So I'm going to have to start looking at the schedule and tee that up. But I'm going to come check y'all out, man. I'm excited for y'all. It's very rare that I get excited about teams outside of my own, but like you said, I mean, we studied it up, and I mean, y'all just, I mean, like you said, you got to put it together. But on paper, this is a team that I should be seeing in Omaha and competing for a championship.
100%. This is one of the best teams I think I've ever been a part of, for sure. It's the best team I've ever been a part of. But you look at it and you just look at the names and the amount of names that could be potential big leaguers. There's quite a few on our roster that could be potential big leaguers that not a lot of other programs have had on one team together.
Well, Brock, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And you are a gracious guest, a humble guest, and we appreciate having you on, man. But before you bounce, we got to play a game, man. We got to play a game that we play with everybody.
Let's do it.
All right, the game is called This or That. It's very simple, and I make these games simple because you guys got plenty of other things to worry about than having a tough game to play. So,
all right, let's do it.
I'm going to give you two options. You choose one option or the other. Just don't say both. Don't say neither. Just pick whatever comes to your mind first.
All
right. So let's jump out of the gate quick. Would you rather own a fast car or a big truck?
Ooh, big truck.
Would you rather have pizza or tacos?
Tacos. I hate pizza, actually.
Oh, man. That's an unpopular take.
That's a bad take. Not a hot take, but a bad take.
Wow.
Oh. And just like that, I don't want to go to Wake anymore.
I think we got to end it right there. I don't know.
I don't like the red sauce. I don't like the red sauce. So I'm not a fan of pasta either. I'll eat my noodles with butter.
Oh, man. What are you, 5?
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Florida beaches or Carolina beaches?
Oh, Florida for sure.
It's not even close.
Well, I put that in there, Daniel, because I have a lot of people I know that are from North Carolina, and they claim their beaches are top notch. I've never been to compare.
They've never been to Clearwater Beach then.
Well, you're going to use Clearwater. That's the best of the best, bro.
Exactly.
Why would I not use that?
Exactly.
I mean, come on now. Would you look forward to hosting? Who do you look forward more to hosting, Miami or Virginia Tech?
Ooh, Miami.
Why Miami?
I got a couple buddies that play there.
Bragging rights.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Bucket list concert or bucket list sporting event? If you had to choose one, which would it be?
Bucket list sporting event for sure.
What's your bucket list sporting event?
See, that's a tough question. I think either the Masters or a World Series that goes to Game 7.
All right. If
it's there for all 7 games.
If it's the World Series, who's playing? The Nationals?
I don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, you got to want your team there. Like, I mean that.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I'd probably want the Nationals and the Red Sox. Those are my 2 favorite teams. I just love the Red Sox and love Fenway.
How are you? Okay, we're not.
There's nothing wrong with dog. Come on, don't do that to him.
With the Red Sox, how can you live in Tampa at all, or in like the Red Sox? Come on, man.
Red Sox was actually my first favorite team growing up. Not gonna lie.
Oh man, you got a lot to learn. Let's just hope that your pro team is not the Red Sox. Then you can have a new favorite team.
But go with his other answer. The interesting. I mean, he said Masters, and it's a shame because Randy, the other host that's not here because he's sick, he's the golf guy. He would have got so excited about you choosing the Masters. I I don't care nothing about it, but I mean, I do hear it's at the top of the list.
I mean, it's a bucket list. You got to go at least once in your life, and I haven't been, so I want to go. I think it's a great experience.
Daniel, you know why I couldn't go to the Masters? Because I don't even like to dress up, and that's a place where they don't let casual guys who like to wear basketball shorts and fresh sneakers.
No, bro, you gotta be looking right. You gotta at least look the part. You can't be
Yeah, you
going
gotta look the
there.
part. You gotta
My
look.
my shoe. Look, you told me I paid too much for shoes. If I'm wearing $400 shoes, am I still not all right, Daniel?
Not the
All right,
shoes
all
you
right.
want to wear.
What shoes are you talking about here? Because I'm a sneakerhead. So what shoes are you talking about
All right, so we're from Memphis. Anyway, for instance, my newest, most expensive pair is the special edition Penny Hardaway Jordan editions with the leopard print on them with the blue.
here? Okay. Those are fire. Those are fire.
So
I've
would I be welcome to the golf course? Will they let me on with those shoes and some shorts?
oh, probably not.
No.
No, but dude, I'm a sneakerhead. I got probably 20 pairs of J's. I got like 10 Dunks. I got a couple Yeezys, and then everything and anything in between that.
Man, I don't even belong in this conversation because I don't own I own about 10 pairs of shoes and they're all less than one pair of y'all shoes combined. So
Probably.
Look, I tell you, Brock, one of my other best friends, man, he is such a sneakerhead, and he's the one that gets me mine. So I say $400 was like that one pair, but like I don't pay that much. He's got a connection, but he's got now 2 whole walls of his bedroom are built with shelves, and it's like one of those things that you see on like Instagram. And like I actually know a person that has that, and it's crazy. And then what's wild is like he's got some of them, like there's probably half of them that he hadn't even worn yet. I'm like, you just got them on the shelf. Like, can I borrow them? Like,
Dude, I'm the same way. Like my closet's right here, and it goes all the way to the top on two sides.
all right. Would you rather be attacked by a tiger or attacked by a grizzly bear? Which one do you think? I guess the best way to think about this is if you were going to have a chance of survival, which one are you picking?
I mean, I gotta go Tiger, right? I mean, there's no shot at surviving a grizzly attack.
Well, let's be honest. You're not surviving either one.
No,
But
no.
look, so I've gotten very much invested into this question over this season. And let me tell you, this is the way that I look at it. I don't think I would pick the tiger. I think I would have a better shot at a grizzly bear. And here's why.
All right, let's hear it.
Grizzly bear is lazier than a tiger. All right. 25% of the grizzly bear's year they spend doing nothing except laying around.
Okay. All
The
right.
tiger, on the other hand, spends their days chilling out, but at night, that's the thing. At night, these dudes are on the attack.
I don't know.
I
I mean,
just
I'm
I,
still going Tiger.
I just know that our last guest, Christian Scott, said he could outrun a grizzly bear. So I'm just trying to see that happen. I need to find somebody who's got a grizzly bear connect, and we need this race to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you never know.
But I looked it up, Daniel, after the episode, and Christian ain't outrunning them because they run an average speed of 35 miles per hour. So get in the way.
We told him. We told him that. So, all right, Brock, man, would you rather save one loved one or save 100 strangers? So, quality or quantity?
Oof. I'm definitely going one love one. Sorry, people.
Now, that's not a wrong answer. I mean, that's the one that I would go with for sure.
We still only got one guest to date that said they would save the 100. I mean, so it's pretty unanimous.
All right.
All right, Brock. Last question. I'll let you get out of here, man. Would you rather betray your best friend or would you rather be jailed for a crime you didn't commit?
Ooh.
Yep.
See, but how long's the jail time?
It happens every time. Daniel, we might as well just go ahead and put the time on
10 years. 10 years.
10 years?
Minimum 10 years.
I gotta go betray my best friend.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Dude.
still trying to get the knife
Hey,
out
buddy.
my back.
Yeah,
That's-
dude. Brock, Jim is my best friend, but if it was him or jail, I'm gonna stick that knife so far in his back, it ain't even funny.
Brock,
And
he said if it was overnight, he said it he had to be
If
taken. He said if he had to do overnight in prison, he's
Overnight? Not even a full
overnight,
day?
not even a full day. Because let me tell you something. There used to be a question that was, would you rather spend 5 years in jail or 10 years in a coma? And I answered the question the same way I'm going to explain this to you. All right. I know at 38 years old, I know what I'm really good at and what I'm not good at. I've never been to jail, but I can tell you this. I would not be good at it. Not a minute, not an hour, not a day, not a week, not a month, not years, not forever. Never. All right. What I do know that I'm good at is sleeping and chilling out and doing all that kind of stuff. So whatever allows me to continue that, that's what I'm doing.
Hey, but you don't know you're good at something until you try it, right?
he doesn't want to find out.
No. See, Brussels sprouts, they smell terrible. I don't have to try them to know that they're terrible.
Oh, I don't eat vegetables either, so I'm with you on that, man. I'm so
But
fine
you
with
also don't eat pizza, so everything's discounted on your diet list.
For real.
But you know what's gonna, you know what, Daniel? I forgive that he said that because LSU was his team that where he wanted to go. As a
All
matter
right,
of
but
fact,
you want to hear the only pizza I'll eat though?
what's that?
Domino's Hawaiian pizza.
All right, we're done. We're done.
Then he had to say pineapple on the pizza. He had to go there.
I didn't think it was possible to ruin an episode in the last 30 seconds, but here we are, man.
Oh man.
I'm kidding, Brock, man. Hey, before you run, anything you want to plug or promote, man?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a pleasure. I've had so much fun. I appreciate you guys.
Before he goes,
Absolutely.
Daniel, I text Casey and told him, I said, man, we got a sneakerhead on the podcast. I said, how many are you at out of curiosity? Because I wanted to tell you, Brock, before he's got 189.
Yeah, I'm not even close to that, but I will be one day. Will be one day.
Well, hey, yeah, look, when he gets drafted, Daniel, he's gonna get that first deposit, and first thing he's gonna do is go buy some kicks.
Exactly.
You know what's crazy to me is he's got 189 pairs of shoes. That means he's got 387 individual shoes. What does someone do with?
They just stack up on the wall and look.
I don't.
Brock gets it though. He would do the same thing if he could.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And what's crazy to me is I bet Casey's got shoes that he's never wore before.
That's what I said to him. You hear me tell Brock? Half of them he hadn't worn.
That's just I don't get it.
I wear all my shoes. I go every single day, different pair of shoes. That's how I rock.
I mean, your shoes gotta match your outfit. I get it.
For sure.
I get it. Well, I'm gonna do you a solid, Brock, man. I'm gonna put you out there for everybody to find. If you want to know what Brock's doing on Monday night, maybe he's doing a podcast. Who knows what he's doing on a Tuesday night? Maybe it's Taco Tuesday because it definitely ain't Pizza Tuesday.
Definitely ain't.
Or maybe you want to see him in study hall or doing his thing on the weekends, man. Head over to Instagram at brock.wilken. Or if you want to catch him on the diamond or you want to see what the Demon Deacons are up to this spring, going over to Instagram at Wake Baseball. Brock, dude, we wish you nothing but excellence and success this season. Injury free. I hope you guys are set up for a magical run, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Me too. I appreciate you guys.
And no matter win, lose, or draw, no matter how it shakes out, we'd love to have you come back on and we'll talk about it.
I'm so down. I appreciate it. Let's do that.
Yes, sir. That's Brock Wilken, everybody. If you like hearing Brock's story or you just like hearing us average shows talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on Twitter, listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, comments, ratings, feedback, like, love, hearts, hugs, all that stuff is always, we'll take it all. All the good stuff we'll take, and even some of the bad stuff. But check us out next week. We got episode 9 coming at you. We're going to get an update on LSU baseball. 10 days away. Ty Floyd's going to come on. He's going to talk to us about it. This has been the Off the Bench podcast. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out.